was a glaring omission from the leaders' event this evening, wasn't there? Polling released yesterday by YouGov has Reform UK just a single point behind the Conservatives. And should Reform overtake the Tories, their leader, Nigel Farage, will demand to be included in future televised debates between Rishi Sunak and Sir Keir Starmer. Well, Farage has declared that this is the immigration election. It was a key issue for the people of Grimsby, wasn't it? And Widdecombe joins me now. What do you make of that? Got a round of applause, didn't it? Talk about Rwanda.
We've been hearing about Rwanda for how long now? Nearly 2 years. And it hasn't happened. And what I object to is not that he's pursued the Rwanda plan, that's fine, but that there's never been any plan B. So all the time that he's been pursuing and failing to deliver the Rwanda plan, thousands of illegal immigrants have been turning up on our shores almost daily. No plan B. Just Rwanda, 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 and it still hasn't happened. And it's all very well to have booked the planes. This is squared the lawyers.
Well, indeed, and it's actually on that bombshell today. It's a story broke alleging that people who had been slated to go to Rwanda have actually been released on immigration bail. Their lawyers were saying. So that actually does strongly imply that people behind the scenes do not think any flights are going to take off. And
how many of them will wait around for those flights? You know, if they're released and they can go where they like, which they will, they're not going to wait for the flights. But that is beside the point. The real point is he's never got the scheme off the ground. There's no guarantee it's ever going to get off the ground, and yet he's done nothing else at all.
What is Reform's deterrent, though? Because you say Rwanda won't work, and it's all very well and good. Let's just say on day one, you know, Nigel Farage personally turned some boats back and people stopped coming. You know, we've still got hundreds of thousands of people who arrived here illegally. I mean, what are you doing about that? Well,
the first thing we've got to do is to stop the flow of people coming here. So that's why we're putting an emphasis on stop the boats. We've got to stop that before we can start to clear up the mess that we've already got here. We do have a plan B if boats get through, and some will. I mean, that's just inevitable. We shall automatically detain people in secure reception centres. They won't be in hotels able to come and go. But as far as those who are already here, and you're quite right, you know, the problem's been growing on an almost daily basis because of Rishi's failure to have any plan. Therefore, we are going to have to speed up the processes.
Would you just ignore international law and just get them on a plane somewhere?
I don't think you ignore international law, but on the other hand, ECHR recommendations are just that, you know, and an awful lot of their judgments are not implemented by an awful lot of other countries. We're just over-conscientious.
OK, all right. Now, Rishi Sunak was held to account a bit on his actual 5 pledges. Is there not some truth, Anne, to the idea that Rishi Sunak is going to get a much tougher ride here than Keir Starmer because he's got more to be accountable for, because he's been in office?
That's absolutely true. The government has a record. Starmer has no record at all because he hasn't been Prime Minister and he hasn't been driving the policy over the last 14 years. So you're quite right there. But that always applies to whoever the Prime Minister is. He's always going to have a harder time because people can say, well, hang on, you say this. Why haven't you done it? You know, why are you waiting now, till now?
And should Nigel be involved in these debates, or is it just an upstart party? It would be a spasm, according to the polls.
Well, if we're a spasm, we've been pretty consistently on the rise now over a very long time. And we're now just 1 point behind the Conservatives. That means that if we overtake them, we'd be the effective opposition. So, of course, Nigel should be involved in the debates.
OK. As I understand it, there is another leadership debate taking place. I think they're all the time now. But they've gone for the SNP over Reform, which I find bonkers. But there is. There was one slightly odd thing that Rishi Sunak said about why people should like him more. I do wonder whether he thought looking at a room full of people in Grimsby and saying they should like him because he has an appalling diet was wise.
I don't think it's remotely wise. I also think it's rather silly. All that actually matters is who is going to run this country better and who's got the right policies, and that's what we should be talking about.
OK, so the fact that he drinks full-fat Coke doesn't bother you?
The fact that he drinks full-fat Coke, I drink full-fat Coke.
Well, you got something in common.
I show it rather more than he does.
No,
That's why
I will not have that, Anne Widdecombe. Thank you very, very much. That's a wonderful Anne Widdecombe.